Hey, and welcome to Board of Life News for February 22nd. Today I'm going to talk about Infection at Outpost 31, O Captain, Codenames, Terra Mystica Gaia Project, and the Kickstarter for The Last Garden. Let's get to it. Hey, I'm Chris. Welcome to Board of Life News. Up first, Infection at Outpost 31 is going to be a game based off of The Thing, the John Carpenter remake of a film from, I think, 1982. It's a surprise pairing of companies. First is USAopoly, which I kind of went like, oh, I don't care about USAopoly. I wish they weren't making it, blah, blah, blah. But they actually have a new sub-company called Project Raygun that's focusing on like designer and more interesting games, I think, than kind of the like mass market consumer friendly games they normally make. And they've teamed with Mondo, and Mondo's a company out of Austin that I absolutely adore. They primarily do poster prints, like for movies, like screen prints of alternative artwork for movies and things like that. You've probably seen it if you're at all into like the geekdom hobby. I've been collecting them for years. They're some of the absolute best kind of like movie memorabilia artwork. They work with amazing artists. So it's pretty exciting that these two companies are pairing to make a game based off of one of my favorite films, The Thing. I don't know about the game design. It seems like a pretty straightforward design because The Thing is kind of ripe for board games, and that it's like a hidden trader thing and all that sort of stuff. So that seems like it shouldn't be that hard to make good. So I don't know the designers that are working on it or anything like that. But I'm sure that the artwork will be absolutely astounding. It's going to be one of the best looking games. It's also going to not look like every other game you have, I imagine. So, interesting stuff. Hopefully the game's good, and hopefully they keep working together, making licensed games on films with really good artwork, and hopefully good design. So, yeah, just kind of interesting, unexpected news out of the New York Toy Fair with this. Asmodee announced that they'll be making O Captain, which is a bluffing game, and it basically you are one person's the captain and everyone else is going to get treasure, and then they're having to sell the treasure to the captain. I'm not quite sure why they're selling treasure to a captain, but whatever. But you can bluff on the amount of treasure that you have. So the captain can either accept it or not, and if he doesn't, then you can use that card that will, I guess, have special abilities against other players. But again, you can bluff and say like, oh, my card has this special ability, so I do that. But then if they call you on the bluff, I think you have to give them a coin or something like that. It sounds kind of like Sheriff of Nottingham, an incredibly good bluffing game from a couple years back. The thing that makes me a little hesitant is it seems like one player is the captain for the whole game, whereas Sheriff of Nottingham, you take turns being the sheriff. So I'm not quite sure how that plays out, but Sheriff of Nottingham's a really good game, so if this one's anything like that, it might be pretty good. It's expected in the second quarter of this year. The big blockbuster news this week is that Czech Games Editions paired with USAopoly. Who would have thought that I have two USAopoly stories in 1 week? I guess they're actually, trying to make headway in the whole hobby industry. Anyway, so Czech Games Editions paired with USAopoly to make licensed Codenames. So Codenames, if you don't know, is an incredibly successful party game from a couple years back designed by Vlaada Chvátil. It's an incredibly good game. It's very simple. It's one of my go-to party games and go-to introduce new people to games. So with this pairing, Czech Games Editions is going to be able to use USAopoly's Disney license for Disney Codenames and Marvel license for Marvel Codenames. I think this is good news. Anything that gets people playing better games, and if you're going to be picking a game off the Target shelf, it's better that you get Disney Codenames than whatever hell else Disney game there is. So yeah, I'm fine with this. I think this is good. USAopoly also has the licenses for Nintendo, Warner Brothers, Cartoon Network, HBO, Fox, and CBS, so I imagine if this is successful for the companies, they're going to just be churning out licensed codename stuff, which can obviously get annoying when there's 10 editions of a thing, but you know what? If you don't like it, then don't buy it, and some kid that likes Nintendo and his grandmother's going to buy him a game with Nintendo stuff, I'd much rather it be Codenames than I don't even know what else Nintendo board games exist. But yeah, so interesting news. Terra Mystica Gaia Project is sort of the new version of Terra Mystica that's going to be coming out theoretically at Essen this year from the same designers. It's not a retheme. It has some different stuff, but it looks really, really similar. In it, you have a board that's made up of 10 sectors with different planets on it, and you're trying to terraform planets so that you can live there. It says that it's going to boast bigger replay value, which is crazy because Terra Mystica is one of the most replayable games ever, and I don't think anyone was saying that they wanted or needed more replay value. You're one of 14 different factions, just like the original game. And in it, your factions, you're going to be terraforming, navigating, researching AI, Gaia forming, and doing economy and research, where I feel like they kind of should have kept Gaia forming for the last, because you're like, oh, Gaia forming, that sounds cool. What else can I do? And they're like, oh, the economy and research. But, Terra Mystica, obviously one of the most popular games to come out in the past decade. It's one of the top-rated games on BGG. It's an incredibly good game, so I'm sure a lot of people will be very happy to see this come out at Essen. The Kickstarter this week is for The Last Garden. This is a worker placement and betting game for 2 to 4 players. In it, you take on the roles of robotanists. Get it? They're robot botanists trying to create beautiful gardens. It's got beautiful artwork by Beth Sobel, who's doing like all the artwork for every board game these days. She's everywhere. And it's a nice theme. It seems like a simple, kind of classic Euro game. And it is $35 right now on Kickstarter. So if that sounds interesting to you, go back that. All right, that's the news for this week. Thanks so much for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe to this page. Make sure you follow me on social media. I'm at Chris Bryan Games. And a huge thank you, as always, to all my Patreon backers that let me make this show for you. This week's question comes from @2CanPlayThat. And they ask, what's your opinion of the Golden Geek Award nominees? I'm totally unbiased. But no, we won a Golden Geek Award a couple years back for our role-playing game podcast, which is kind of weird that I have a Golden Geek because it's from the board game side, but we actually won it from the RPG side. So we were really happy about that, and it's like the only award we've won in this industry, and it makes us feel really good. So Golden Geeks are great. I think in general, Golden Geeks are a really good way to kind of see what gamers are playing these days. It's sort of a popularity contest, but the way it's ranked, it's not like, it's not like if you just get the most votes, you win, because it's not you vote for one game. You rank the games that you've played. I think that they're really good. I like that there's a ton of different categories where you have like artwork and presentation and stuff like that. So I was really happy this year to see that Flamme Rouge got nominated in multiple categories. I'm glad to see that people are actually playing that on the people that are active on BGG, which is, I think, normally a more domestic, a more North American audience. So despite that game not even being out here, it got nominated, and I just want everybody to play that game. So that made me happy. I think Scythe is probably going to sweep every category it's in this year. It'll definitely win artwork and presentation. It'll probably win Game of the Year. I assume it's up for, I don't know if it's in strategic or thematic or both, but I think Scythe will probably sweep about every category it's in, which is fine. It's a great game, and it looks gorgeous, and a lot of people love it, and my dog's just going crazy. So with that, I will leave you, and I will see you next week.